these rules that we're taught when we are young are the very rules, quote, I'm using air quotes, rules that are keeping us playing small as grown-ass women. Basically, they helped to form these messages that we have about needing to be quiet and needing not to break out of the mold. And these rules could be something that maybe was in your family of origin. I know that I learned certain things, or it could also be just part of being in our society.
This is your Kick-Ass Life podcast, episode number 331 with guest Liz Applegate.
This is the Your Kick-Ass Life podcast with Andrea Owen, a no BS guide to self-help and badassery. Because ladies, let's face it, life's too short for it to not kick ass. And here's your host, the girl who serves it up straight with a side of crazy, Andrea Owen.
Hey there, ass kickers. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I am so glad that you are here. I am so incredibly grateful. I know I say this every time, but truly, I think about every single one of you that listens to the show, whether you are working out, some of you are in the shower, some of you are doing dishes, some of you are working and have it in your headphones, some of you are at the grocery store. I hope you're social distancing if you are out and about. But I'm just incredibly grateful that you spend your time with me and my guests. Also, hopefully you've checked out the solo episodes that I've done over the last handful of weeks. I threw in some bonus episodes for you and just trying to help out specifically around the crisis that's going on right now. So the one that dropped a couple of days ago, I think that's such a funny word to say. The episode drops. I guess it does. It just seems very dramatic. But that was episode 330, where I talked about a lot of different things in that episode. I talked about your values and how they might look different right now as we make our way through this time in our lives. I talked about your capacity, about showing up for other people and knowing what your superpowers are and not trying to take things on that really are too difficult for you to manage, and gave you a personal example over there as well. And then also talked to coaches. I think it might have been eye-opening for some of you who might not know how a coaching business works, the behind the scenes, if you will, and all of that. And I know that there are many of you who are coaches who hopefully found that helpful. And if you missed our book club Q&A, it was a free call that happened. You can still watch the recording or listen to the audio. Just text the word book club, make it all one word, to 55444, and we'll get you the link for that. Also, if you are someone who is feeling like you need some extra support right now, we do offer private life coaching with me or my lead coach. Anything from managing your inner critic, any of those behaviors that you read about or listened to and how to stop feeling like shit, we can help you with that, setting boundaries or wherever it is that you are feeling stuck or a little lost. We also help coaches in their coaching business, whether you are a brand new coach or you are someone who's a little bit more established. You might want to start a podcast like this one. You might want to write a book and aren't sure if you should self-publish or if you should go traditional publishing, or maybe neither of those, and you just want to take your life coaching business to the next level. We can help you. So for life coaching, head over to yourkickasslife.com/coaching. And if you are a life coach and want help in your business, head over to yourkickasslife.com/consulting. All right. I am pumped to bring you today's guest because I've wanted to introduce you to her for a couple of months now. Liz is my lead coach over here at Your Kick-Ass Life. I still do private coaching, and Liz helps me out. She is the lead coach over here, and I could not be more thrilled to have someone as fantastic of a coach as she is. So for those of you who don't know her, let me tell you a little bit about her before we head into this conversation. Liz Applegate is a certified coach through the Courageous Living Coach Certification, an ICF accredited coach training program. Besides having her own coaching practice and being a lead coach for Your Kick-Ass Life, she's been on the leadership team of Team CLCC since 2016, helping to teach and coach close to 200 trainees through online and in-person trainings. She's been called an inner critic whisperer by clients who work with her. Those who know her best call her Mama Liz because of the care she provides them, as well as the loving kick in the pants she can give when needed. So without further ado, here is Liz. Liz, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andrea.
I'm so excited to have you here. I've been talking about having you on, and then I all of a sudden kind of sprung it on you like a day ago.
Yeah, it all works. It all works.
Well, we're all kind of sitting around with a little bit of extra time on our hands, and I wanted to, I have a lot of interviews in the queue, but I wanted to do some that were a little bit, current because what everybody's dealing with right now. And not that we're going to talk a lot about the current crisis, but I wanted to do an interview here and there that was a little bit more in real time. And you being a member now of the Your Kick-Ass Life team, I wanted to introduce you to everyone. And so, as I mentioned in the introduction, Liz Applegate is our lead coach over here. And I'm so excited to have you. And I want to sort of start from the beginning because, and I ask this really of all of my guests, is I'm always very curious how you got to the personal development industry, because I think for a lot of us, we sort of had this epiphany. For some people, it was a spiritual experience or awakening. And so what was your sort of introduction into this world?
Yeah. So basically my life was a shit show. And
okay. So you're one of us.
So if I were to think back to how I first got just really interested in personal development, it probably really started when I was in my 20s and I was seeing a therapist. And that was the first time I was exposed to the MTBI test. And so I learned, I think that was the right initials, right? MTBI. Okay. So that was really kind of the first little exposure that I got. And then fast forward several years, we won't say how long.
Is that the one? Wait, is that the one where that tells you like that you're an ENFJ and that thing?
Yes,
okay.
that one.
Gotcha. There's so many different ones. So that one's really popular.
But so that was really kind of my first little glimpse of that. And that was in the late 80s. And so it really wasn't like coaching was even a thing back then. So you kind of went to a counselor for everything. You just didn't have a choice. And fast forward many years, newly divorced, and I was back in a counselor's office again for the same damn problem, trying to figure out why I was choosing the wrong men for me. Luckily, the counselor that I had this time was very coach-like, which I had never experienced that before. Very much about problem solving and forward thinking and let's build a plan. And, it was just a very new experience for me to have someone like that. And,
so it was less talk therapy.
Yes.
Tell me how you feel. Tell me what happened.
Right. I mean, we dipped in
more proactive.
Yeah, we dipped into that a little bit, but it was definitely proactive. And I just really left there feeling like I had a plan. And so a little bit after that, I was in a career transition. Didn't really feel like I needed to go to a counselor for that. But then because of that experience, I thought I'm going to look into coaching. And so I hired my first coach at that point, and she really helped me kind of untangle a lot of things that I was experiencing at the time. And through that experience, I just became really interested in what it was to be a coach. So in 2012, I have a lot of nonprofit communications and marketing experience. And in 2012, I had opened my own business as a VA and online business manager. And I had a lot of my clients that were talking about, their fears and things that were coming up for them. And this was a little bit more than what I had signed up for.
Yeah.
And I was very happy and very honored that they would share those things with me. But I just thought, if I really want to support my clients, then I need to become a coach. And so that was how that happened. And I just became a certified coach in 2015. And it was really kind of funny because I went in with this belief that it was just going to be part of my online business management. It was just another skill set. And I remember us.
I have a feeling I know what happened, but go ahead.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to this. But
So as part of our training, we had to coach in front of the whole training. We did it virtually. And so I remember going through this coaching training, and I just had this epiphany, and I closed out the session, and I was asked by Kate. She says, "So how do you feel?" And I was like, "Holy shit, I'm a life coach." I mean, it just had never even dawned on me that here I was like learning the skill set and really falling in love with it at the same time.
Oh my gosh. What an interesting serendipitous series of events, but of course not serendipitous. I want to jump in and say, for people that don't know, a VA is a virtual assistant. People might not know
sorry about that
is. That's okay. Jargon that we coaches use that other people might not know. A virtual assistant, which some people listening out there might want to look into. It's a lucrative career that you can do where you work from home and you can make money helping people who also work from home, like me, run their businesses and actually be an assistant.
Right.
And so the other thing too, when you said Kate,
yes,
that's Kate Courageous, who's a friend of mine who
I know
actually introduced me to you.
Yeah, I'm just having these conversations like we all know everything. So thank you for clearing that up. And I think I said OBM, which that's an online business manager.
You said online business manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I was actually wrong. I thought that you were going to say that you entered life coach training to learn this new skill set and didn't realize how much of your own personal life would change in the process, like having to do your own work. Because that was my surprise.
That was my surprise as well, because, that's a biggie. We had during training, there's all these beautiful posters that are up. And one of them said, something about like this program, all your shit's going to come up and it'll be the best thing that ever happened. And I remember laughing, thinking, I've dealt with my shit for a long time. I'm good.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was like, should never whisper those words. So, yeah.
Life coach training, I feel like, is one of those things where it can be, it's not always, but it's like people come out of there like born again Christians. Like they are like, we need to tell everybody the good news.
Right.
And we need to sign everyone up that we know for this training. And then you go home and do that. And people are like, you need to get out of my face with this coaching stuff. Yeah. But it can really change your life for the better. And I know people who did life coaching training who really had no intention of doing it as a career. They just wanted to do it so that they can better communicate with the people in their life, their partners, et cetera. Or they wanted to be able to work, they're in human resources for a company and they want to be able to work better with the people there. I mean, it doesn't have to be just a career for you. Anyway, little side note there. Right. But I love, one of the things I love about you and sort of your message, and one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on as a lead coach and have you on the show is because you talk a lot about breaking the good girl rules. I'm so excited about this. I can't even get the words out of my mouth. So talk to us about that, breaking the good girl rules.
Yeah. So, and of course I came through this through my own experience and my own life, but I am a big believer that these rules that we're taught when we are young, are the very rules, I'm using air quotes, rules that are keeping us playing small as grown-ass women, basically. They helped to form these messages that we have about needing to be quiet and needing not to break out of the mold. And these rules could be something that maybe was in your family of origin. I know that I learned certain things, or it could also be just part of being in our society where we are now.
Shopify's already taken the cash register online, helping millions sell billions around the world. But did you know that Shopify can do the same thing at your retail store? Give your point of sale system a serious upgrade with Shopify. With Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. Connect with customers inline and online. Shopify helps you drive store traffic with plug-and-play tools built for marketing campaigns from TikTok to Instagram and beyond. Get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone, transform your tablet into a point of sale system, or use Shopify's POS Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/noise, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/noise to take your retail business to the next level today. Shopify.com/noise. Today's podcast is sponsored by MIDI Health. Ladies, are you over 40 like me and dealing with hot flashes, insomnia, brain fog, moodiness, some vaginal dryness, or weight gain? Don't just accept it as part of aging. These symptoms are often linked to hormonal changes during perimenopause and menopause. At MIDI Health, they get it. Their experts know what you're going through and how to help. MIDI clinicians are menopause specialists offering safe, effective, FDA-approved solutions. And guess what? MIDI care is covered by insurance. So stop pushing through it alone. Schedule a virtual visit and dive deep into your unique symptoms and health background. You'll walk away feeling heard and with a plan to start feeling better. Visit MIDI Health today and reclaim your well-being. You deserve to feel great. Book your virtual visit today at joinmidi.com. That's joinmidi.com. joinmidi.com.
I don't think my audience knows this 100%. I haven't talked about it at length, but I wrote my first 2 books, and then 2016 happened, and then 2017 happened with the Me Too movement, and then in 2018 the Kavanaugh hearings, and just over and over again the culture and what was happening was not anything you could ignore or pretend like it wasn't happening. We saw a change that was taking place. And if nothing else, it was a conversation that was happening. So on a personal level, what that had to do with me in my career as an author, as I looked in the mirror and I was like, I cannot write another self-help book without addressing this, without addressing the fact that it is my opinion that we got here, and by we, I mean people who identify as women, got here. By here, I mean in this place of feeling not good enough, of having so much negative self-talk, of feeling like we don't measure up, of constantly comparing ourselves to other people and feeling like we need to be competitive with each other. This is because of the patriarchy. And it's not because of men. It's because of the system that was created. And the patriarchy, as we know, hurts men and women. And I can't fist pump and say, you go girl, girl power without saying, here's the problem and here's how we remedy it. First, by having the conversation and pointing at it and say, this is what's wrong. Here's how we fix it. And so all that to say, I fiercely agree with everything you said. And then it comes from sometimes our family of origin. It largely comes from our culture. Sometimes I think it can come from past relationships, from men or women that we've been in relationships with who have also grown up in the same culture that we do, that buy into the same messaging.
Right. And I'm always quick to say, I don't feel like our parents gave us these rules to keep us playing small. Like that was how they were raised. They're very much in the same society that we are in, and that was just something that was passed down. And so, it's very interesting, I think, when I look back in my own life and then the clients that I've had. And it's interesting too, because every time I say something like, that's a good girl rule, every woman I've ever met says, oh yeah, I know what those are. It's something that we don't even talk about, yet we know what they are.
We know what they are, and we just accept them as truth.
Right.
It's one of those things where when I really started to look at it, I don't know if you had this feeling, but I felt a visceral, something rose up inside of me. Did you feel that way?
Yeah.
Like physically.
Yeah.
many years ago, God, I can't believe it's been many years, not been many years, been a couple of years, I should say. I wrote a poem called My Resignation, and it came from the Me Too movement of reading women's stories and over and over and over again and feeling the collective rage that I did. I processed that through writing. And at that time I was writing a lot of poetry, and that was one of the pieces that came out of that. And so many women emailed me and said, that they loved it. And also I had a handful of them, a large handful of them that said, I had no idea what I was mad at until I heard you read that poem.
Right.
And I started crying, or I started getting really angry or whatever. It's like, because this is just, even one of my closest friends was saying for so long, I just accepted that this is just how it is for us.
Right. Right. And, if we want to speak directly into the Me Too movement, I know that I heard comments from people, saying, well, how come people didn't speak up sooner? How come these women didn't say anything sooner? And from my own experience of, dealing with a stepbrother, of not feeling like I could speak up, it was very much a good girl rule that I was just to keep quiet. That I had probably egged this on, I had done something. So there's so much of that in our society that is like, we just don't even realize it. And then just to be, that was a very hard time for me. I just remember during the Kavanaugh hearings, just feeling that rage and just the collectiveness of, I'm actually getting like the shakes now, still thinking about it. It's just sort of like, it's just hard to believe that we are in this time in history and we're still dealing with that kind of thing.
So you work with clients specifically. I know that you do like several different things. It's not just women who come in feeling this way about feeling that they've always been the good girl and wanting to get back to their more authentic self. But when someone comes to you, what are some things that you do to help them kind of get to that place of their biggest, best self?
So, well, first off, I just want to say that I meet my clients where they are. So wherever that is. And a lot of times, so I'm getting ready to share like this framework that I kind of follow, but sometimes we can skip over some of these places is what I'm trying to say. So it's not exactly like a step-by-step process. But the framework I use is mostly we start off just like reclaiming, where we are now and where we want to go. It's kind of like this stake in the ground. I'm no longer willing to put up with whatever's going on, and I'm ready to move forward. We really look at, what's it costing? Like, in your life, like what, continuing on, what is it costing you, and why are you staying stuck and playing small? And this step is really about awareness, to start paying attention to what's coming up, because I feel like that's so important. We just kind of move through life unaware. And when we do that, then these habits kind of continue.
Well, I'm gonna jump in for a second, because I call that, and it's probably exactly the same thing, but it's tolerations.
Right.
And it's what's really interesting is that sometimes when you're hearing people talk about it, like people are listening to us have this conversation, we don't even realize, they might be like, well, yeah, of course I don't put up with any bullshit. I'm that type of lady. Some people know that they're actually tolerating stuff that they shouldn't be, but I think there's a large part of the population who really doesn't think that they have a lot of things that they need to really examine. And it can be incredibly, I think it can be emotion filled, not always at first empowering. It can feel like you look at this list of things that you're tolerating, and then you're like, holy shit, does this mean I actually have to take action on these things? Does this mean I actually might have to have a hard conversation with someone and set a boundary? So it can be, I'm not saying that to scare people, like I might be. But I think when you're ready, you're ready. You were saying at the beginning of the show that you got to a point in your life where you wanted to realize why you kept picking the same relationships over and over again. So like that for you, I'm assuming, was your way of reclaiming your life, of saying, here's what I can't tolerate anymore.
Right. And I had to go through that several times in my life, honestly. And, each step was a different a different place of learning about who I was. And so I don't want to also come across like it's a one and done thing, because I think those of us in personal development know that it's kind of like it's a one and done for now until we come up against something else. And then it's time to dive back in and look at other areas that those things are coming up as well.
Yeah. I say it all the time on this show that the journey never stops. You never stop learning. That's why I still do episodes every single week. And I'm always the person who's quick to share personal things that happen in my life where I mean, this last 2 weeks, I'll tell you what. I mean, we're recording this at the end of March.
Oh my gosh.
And it, like, all of my shit has come up, which I know that has been the case for everyone. And I have had to be reminded of my tools of, reminding myself as well as other people that I care about in my life, where I have come to them and said, I'm really struggling around this one thing, and being reminded, because at the end of the day, we're all human. Just because we do this for a living doesn't mean we're one and done, or, have it in our back pocket.
Sometimes I even feel guilty because it's sort of like, I know my tools. Why am I not doubling down on my tools?
Sometimes we're late.
Yes.
To the party, but we still have them, and we still eventually use them. We're human at the end of the day.
Right.
Well, I want to ask you too about something that I think, I mean, I make this up. I that you probably work on this with clients, because you work with this specific woman of, always feeling like she needs to be the good girl. Do you talked about and coach through limiting beliefs?
Oh, yes. So that's like the next step in the process. Once we become aware and once we start seeing how they're coming up, then we start looking at shoulds and limiting beliefs. And this is where we look.
Well, talk to us about what limiting beliefs are. Like, give us some examples, because some people might not be sure what that is.
So limiting beliefs are just basically these stories that you're carrying around with you, and they are the ones making the decisions, right? They're the ones that are holding you back, the ones that are keeping you playing small. And they could be anything like, like, I can't apply for that job because I don't have enough education. So you've already formed this belief around your education about your ability to apply for a job. I mean, that's just a very basic and simple one.
Yeah. And probably very common.
Very much so. Or anything around relationships. Even education can come into that one as too. I can't have a relationship with this person because of my education or my background. So basically, it's just this belief that a lot of times you don't even realize you're moving through the world with. And yet it's really informing your reality. It's really the driving the bus. Yes, that's a good way to say it. And so I feel that a lot of these limiting beliefs do come from the good girl rules. And because of these things that we were taught when we were growing up, I have a big thing about being bossy.
Oh my God.
So I always, when I was younger, I was just told, you need to stop being bossy. I was the oldest sister. And so a lot of times I was having to be the mom. And yet at the same time, I was told not to be bossy. And so I have this real thing about stepping into leadership because I don't want to appear bossy.
It's hard to find a great mentor who can help me level up. My dream mentor, Shonda Rhimes. So I was really excited when I heard she has a class on Masterclass. With Masterclass, you can learn from the best to become your best. Masterclass is the only streaming platform where you can learn and grow with over 200 plus of the world's best. For just $10 a month, an annual membership with Masterclass gets you unlimited access to every instructor. And you can access Masterclass on your phone, computer, smart TV, or even in audio mode. I'm always looking for ways to be a better writer, so I took Shonda Rhimes' screenwriting class. It helped me gain concrete technical advice, including structuring, the writing process, and with shows under her belt like Grey's Anatomy and Bridgerton, it was so helpful. Plus, every new membership comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Don't wait another moment to start your learning journey with Masterclass. Right now, our listeners get an additional 15% off any annual membership at masterclass.com/Andrea. That's 15% off at masterclass.com/Andrea. Masterclass.com/Andrea. You know when you're listening to a song on the radio and you get the profound feeling that the song playing was written about you? Now imagine having the power to gift that same incredible feeling to someone you love with an original song from Songfinch that actually is written just for them. Songfinch lets you create an original radio quality song inspired by your own life and the people you love. It's completely unique, personal, and lasts forever. Whether your song is for Father's Day, an upcoming graduation, wedding, or anniversary, or even just a gift to show your loved one how much you care, start your song now to lock in one of Songfinch's top artists. I gifted Songfinch to myself, a song about my late father, and I'm so excited to play you a clip.
Flipping through the slides of learning how to live and how to love, and coming undone a father daughters without, so she writes it down.
One of my clients heard about Songfinch from this podcast, and so she had a song created for her son who was graduating, and she told me that they both cried when she played it for him and that it exceeded her expectations. For a limited time, Songfinch is letting our listeners upload their song to Spotify for free, so you and the lucky person you gift it to can listen to it anywhere, anytime. Go to songfinch.com/noise and start your song. After you purchase, you'll be prompted to add Spotify streaming for your original song for free, a $50 value. Again, my URL is songfinch.com/noise. Don't forget to share your song with us too. songfinch.com/noise.
And so for the longest time, I would really shrink away from being a leader in situations. And so that was a limiting belief that I had, was that I can't be a leader because then I'd be bossy. And so that's an example of how this good girl rule that I was carrying around was really informing me stepping into places where I could really use my gifts and shine. And I will even still see I'll say something like, I'm very timid. I don't want to appear bossy, but, it's kind of like I put this parameter around this, and, you just need to stop that shit.
Yeah. Apologizing before you even say the sentence that have the idea or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
All of those things that I think many of us are familiar with. I'm going to start listing at being bossy and aggressive as my hobbies.
Oh, I love it. Right.
I excel at those things.
Oh, I love it.
It's interesting. My daughter's 10 and watching her, and she's sort of in the middle. She's not a super follower, timid person, but yet she's not bossy, loud, and aggressive. And quite honestly, that's how I was when I was her age. But there are some girls that I've noticed who would be labeled as bossy. And it's interesting when, if I mention this to another mom, and I'll stop myself and I'll say, and we kind of laugh about it. And I'm like, she definitely has leadership qualities. Or I'll say she's going to be the CEO someday.
Right.
And I hope, and there's gotta be some kind of program out there for young girls of that age that work to shape girls who are like that, who have those leadership qualities, and teach them how to use it in a really great way. Because let's be honest, at the same time, it's not a great skill to push other people down,
right,
and not let anybody get a word in edgewise. Because I've seen that with girls as well, or snatching things out of other people's hands and not giving anybody else an opportunity at all. There's a dark side to it, but I just see so much potential in these girls, and it truly is leadership qualities. It really truly is.
It is. And so I'm the mom of 3 sons, and I never once said to my sons, "Don't be bossy." And so I feel like there is just very much these things, and I don't want to generalize. I don't want to say all girls are told not to be bossy and no boys are ever told not to be bossy, but I just feel like there are very specific things that girls are told, and And they can be shaped into wonderful leadership qualities. But when we're telling them, hey, don't, like I was told, don't stop being so bossy. You shouldn't be bossing your sister around. You shouldn't be, all those things. And I just kind of squelched it down because it was wrong.
Yeah. And these are the things that shape and form us, our limiting beliefs, like you were talking about.
Right.
Well, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about creating connections with other women, because that is something that you encourage and teach in your community. So talk to us about that, creating connections with other women.
So connection is a core value of mine. I really feel like as women, we're really meant to be in community. If you look at just civilization through time, women were always in community. But I just feel like in this modern life that we are in, it really pulls us away from that. I remember my mother-in-law telling a story how when my husband was young, all the women in the neighborhood or the street would pull out their ironing boards and iron together in the driveways. They would have all these extension cords cobbled together, and then they would iron together.
Neat.
Right. And then and this is when they used to iron sheets. So good grief.
Yes.
They were
in underwear.
Exactly. But if one mom got finished, she would go over and help her neighbor. And I just always thought that was just such a beautiful image, and how sad it is that even if you're a stay-at-home mom these days, you often feel alone. So it's just something that I am just really passionate about. I have been very lucky in my life to have close communities of women. And when I say that, I mean beyond just like PTA moms. I mean, I've nothing against PTA moms. I used to be one of them. But, I had a circle of friends that it was just PTA moms, and we just talked about the PTA and the weather and, that kind of stuff. But
yeah, the surface stuff.
But I'm talking about connections, groups of women where we are really there to lean on each other through times of helping one another raise their children. And I'm lucky to have in-person, groups, and then also groups who I have met online. And so it's really just something that I feel it's just such a passion of mine. I just can't even share that enough, my belief that we should have that somewhere in our lives.
I'm with you. And I think even for women that, as we're seeing more and more women, especially of the millennial generation, decide not to have children, which thank God that's becoming a thing that is more accepted, because I think even, especially our mother's generation, that was not acceptable, really. It was you were other if you were a woman who decided not to have children, if that wasn't for you. But it doesn't matter whether you're a mother or where you decide not to have children or you can't have children. We belong in community. I mean, think about what's happening right now as people are social isolating. And I am an extrovert. I'm having a very hard time with this.
Same.
I'm watching old videos, whether it's on social media or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, remember when we used to get together in groups? It seems so long ago, and it was only 2 weeks, but it seems like years ago. I'm grieving this place of being able to be with other people. And I think even people who are introverts like their time with people just on a, smaller scale than we do. And no one can argue that we as humans are meant to be in community with each other. We are social creatures 100% through and through. And this does not stop when we get home from work. And I wrote about this in my book about how it's not just about having those surface conversations with people like you were mentioning, the PTA moms, and talking about the weather. Of course we do that, the small talk. My hope is that women find other women whom they can have these deeper relationships with. And when I talk about this, there is, for some women, they feel flawed or extremely sad that they don't have those friendships in their life. And it takes work. And that's one of the things I work on with my clients is trust and friendships. What do your friendships look like and what can you do? I mean, I had one client where it was every week I was assigning her to get out there, go to the gym, talk to 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like dating. It's like you have to put yourself out there
Yeah.
and get to know people, and it's vulnerable. It's extremely vulnerable.
It's very vulnerable. And honestly, we've all had those mean girl experiences, right?
Oh my God.
Either we
yes.
were the recipient of that, or maybe we were a mean girl. I mean,
Mhm, mhm.
so we know what that's like. And I feel like that is something that also can inform a limiting belief, to go back to that, about how all women are catty or all women are a certain way. And I don't believe that's true from my own experience, but I have
Mhm.
had those experiences as an adult. And I just feel like that's part of the vulnerability piece. You're just putting yourself out there. And unfortunately, you may experience that, but fortunately, you may find people who are not like that.
Well, I want to jump in because I am I turn into an evangelist about this, and I'm so glad that you acknowledged how painful it can be to be the recipient of, mean girl behavior, and also being the mean girl. Like once you realize
Yeah.
what was behind your behavior, there were some incidents in high school. I talked about it on the podcast that I do with my friend Amy Smith on Not Another Pod. We had a segment where we talked about, it was called Juvenile Delinquents. And I talked about this girl that I mean, God, I could probably say that I bullied her for a very short time. She was the girlfriend of my ex-boyfriend. My high school boyfriend broke up with me to date her. And she was beautiful and sweet. And we would throw M&Ms at her, like from across the quad. I mean, we probably
Right.
didn't even hit her, but egged her house. And I don't know what kind of deep conscience I had as a 16-year-old girl at the time, but I ended up apologizing to her and her parents. Really, I don't think it was right then, but it was later on that I realized that was completely fueled from a deep place of insecurity, from a deep place of pain,
Right.
that I was looking for an easy target to blame because I was so incredibly brokenhearted that I took it out on her. And it was entirely unfair. And even so we ended up being friends actually through high school. And then even when Facebook popped up in the 2000s, probably around 2007 or 2008, and we, became Facebook friends, I private messaged her and apologized again.
Yeah.
And so and she was like, it's fine. We were friends. And I'm like, I know, I'm much older now than we were in high school, and wanted to circle back because I think that no one is ever inherently mean.
Right.
I don't believe that about people.
Right.
I don't. And I think that once you realize where your behavior is stemming from, that feels incredibly shitty. And I say all this because my hope is that women listening, I've had women come to my retreats and say, I have never trusted a woman before in my life, whether they have had really difficult relationships with their mother or with their friendships. And people just don't know how to have hard conversations. And they also don't know how to apologize. I'm making a sweeping generalization here, but I was like, for the large part, that's what we need to learn. And that's what coaching can teach you too.
Right. Exactly. And I really love that you were able to recognize that the mean girl actions that were taking place, that was from pain and that was from insecurity. And those are tools that, unfortunately, our parents didn't have to teach us,
Right.
So I'm actually really excited for the fact of parents now because they just seem so much more informed than I was when I was a parent, and definitely more than my parents were. But
I always say this is not to blame and shame my parents.
Right.
They did the best they could with the tools they had, which were like none of
right. Same.
I'm lucky I was loved.
Yeah.
I had clothes and food and lots of affection, which some people don't have.
Right.
And not a lot of resiliency tools and coping mechanisms and things like that. And so thank you so much for sharing your the whole good girl thing and the process and how you got here. Is there anything else you want to say before we close up today?
Oh gosh, no, I'm just so excited to be here and so excited to be on your team. And it's just been great And every time we talk, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could just talk forever. So,
well, you know me, I could talk about personal development forever. And you are just such a joy. And I'm so glad to have you on the team. And if anyone is interested, you can head on over to yourkickasslife.com/coaching and read about the different packages that we offer. And I really do think that even though we are in a time of crisis, and for some people, bad financial struggle, I understand, but I do believe that there are people out there who could really use some support. And whether it's with me or whether it's with Liz, we want to be able to see if we can help you, and hopefully it's a good fit. So head on over there, or you can email us to get some more information. And until next time, ass kickers, I will see you all out in cyberspace. Bye-bye.
I'd like to introduce you to the Minimalist Moms podcast. It's hard enough being a mom, and the last thing you need is stress from too much stuff and an overcrowded schedule. For too long, I lived with the mindset that bigger was better, and the more I added to my life, instead of feeling better, I felt overwhelmed. It was time for a radical new mindset. Less is more. I'm not into extremes. I didn't throw everything away. My brand of minimalism is more about adding than subtracting. Get rid of the excess to make room for what you love. In other words, it's about living life with purpose. I hope you'll listen in, and my guest and myself can inspire you to think more and do with less. The Minimalist Moms podcast, available wherever you listen to podcasts.